Dope, dope, dope. But thank you guys for sharing that. Thank you guys for sharing that. I'm gonna just go ahead and get started because I think we may have a couple stragglers, but y'all here and I appreciate it. So I'm gonna get it started. Welcome to another episode of Federo Speaks, which is a very special episode. I have some very special guests, some young people representing the youth of their communities. I think most of you guys are from the area of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out to Shy City. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So this particular conversation is going to be on a topic that I feel is very important, particularly for the youth of America, and that topic is the topic of suicide. So before we begin, I want to state that the information presented in this discussion may be triggering to some people. If you are having suicidal thoughts, contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255 for support and assistance from a trained counselor. If you or a loved one is in immediate danger, call 911. So, again, I want to thank you guys for joining this very special panel discussion. The goal of this discussion, I'm going to highlight some bullet points in regards to just what the goal of the discussion is about to kind of create a framework for how we'll discuss this topic, this very important topic moving forward. So the goal of this discussion is to discuss the causes of suicide amongst adolescents and young adults, to bring the topic of mental health to the forefront of conversations, to understand that suicidal thoughts occur amongst youth. Suicidal thoughts occurring amongst youth is not uncommon and can be a reoccurring sign of a mental health issue, to discuss some of the triggers and signs of depression and suicidal thoughts and provide practical ways to get help. And lastly, to understand that suicide can be prevented, and we all have a role to play in both the education and prevention of suicide. So, before we begin, I just want to highlight why I thought this was an important conversation to have. Over the pandemic, I began to struggle with my mental health. I went through maybe around September, October, what I would call just like a very deep depression that had me for a minute just cycling through just really toxic thoughts about life, about myself, about my future, despairing both about the future, but also being depressed about the past. So it held me in this particular limbo where it was, a lot of anxiety that I was experiencing, and it had me feeling like, yo, I didn't want to be here anymore. I felt like there was this like really dark cloud hanging over me, and it was like just like, yo, if you take yourself out, who would care? Let them figure it out, whatsoever, or whatever. So thankfully I was able to work myself out of that mindset, and I was able to really begin to develop some practices to help me deal with the suicidal ideations and the thoughts of like not wanting to be here. I began to find just tools to help me bring me out of that dark space. And it wasn't until maybe April, May when I saw the interview. I'm not sure if you guys saw the interview with Meghan and Harry of Britain, the royals or whatever. They did an interview with Oprah, and Meghan, who married Harry, who is a prince, was stating how she was suicidal at the peak of them getting married, at the peak of their fame and stardom, and what would seem to be a very high happy period. She was suicidal, and she was pregnant at the time, and she contemplated killing both herself and her baby. And it made me think about when I was suicidal, and it made me realize that suicide doesn't have any respect of person. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, young or old, black or white. And in that regard, it made me realize that we don't do a good job at discussing suicide in, the communities that I'm a part of. Even though I was suicidal, I didn't I didn't feel like there was a space for me to even state, hey, I'm having really dark thoughts. I didn't even have the language to explain it at that time. So with that said, I wanted to bring the conversation to the forefront because I realized that I'm probably not the only one that has felt this way. And I'm definitely not the only one that knows someone who may have felt this way as well. So with that said, I want to take this opportunity to introduce some very, very, very special guests to the panel. I'm going to, Antonio's, I'm going to put you last as the gentleman and let the beautiful young ladies go first. If I can get the right order. Okay. So I got them in order right here. So we're going to start with the beautiful Jemala. Jemala, if you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the panel.
Hi, my name is Jemala. I am 31 years old. I am a mom of 6 boys, and I currently hold the position as admissions director for Legacy Healthcare.
Dope. Where are you from?
I'm from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised.
Shot City.
Period.
Ain't nothing like it. Thank you for joining us, Jemala. I got it, Jemala. I'll be butchering y'all name. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Nobody has ever gotten my name right in the 31 years of life. I've had the same doctor for a while, and she never gets it right, so it doesn't bother me.
Cool, because this Federo gets butchered all the time. I mean, like, it's relentless. But Jerves, see, I didn't butcher that one. I hope I didn't.
No, you didn't.
Woo! Got one. Because I did want to mess yours up, because you didn't already told me before. But I want to welcome Jerves to the panel discussion. Would you introduce yourself, Jerves?
Hi, my name is Jerves, and I'm a special ed teacher, or formal special ed teacher. I taught for Chicago Public Schools and Minneapolis Public Schools. Recently, I moved back home to be with family, and right now I'm looking into starting a school for mental health and for special needs for our community.
Welcome. Thank you for that, Jemala. I want to talk to you. Jerves, I want to talk to you a little bit more about that school you want to start. Next up, we got the beautiful Keiarra Brown. I love that last name. That's my last name. We might be cousins, girl. We might be cousins. That's my
Probably.
But welcome.
Hi, my name is Keiarra. I'm 17 years old. I'm currently a rising senior, but for this summer, I'm just a leadership initiatives intern student for a law firm in DC.
Impressive. Welcome, Keiarra Brown. Hey, Keiarra, do me a favor in the chat. Can you leave your email so I can email you?
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Antonio's, last but not least, we got that boy Antonio's.
Hello. My name is Antonio's. I just graduated high school, and this summer, I'm gonna be focused on like getting in my bag and stuff, man, saving up money. And I will be attending Eastern Illinois University for a year, and I will be transferred to Jackson State University. And I will be majoring in psychology. I want to become a psychologist though, but yeah. And I'm 18 years old too.
Thank you. Welcome, Antonio's. I ain't know about the Eastern part. All right, so we're gonna talk about that. But congrats, man. Congrats on graduating. Congrats on being accepted, man. I'm really, really, really proud of you. All right, so thank you guys again for joining. I'm ready to dig into some of this conversation because I really want to treat this as an opportunity to learn from you guys, and to really be able to walk away with an understanding of how I can better service the youth within my life and in our surrounding communities. So I want to read just some statistics and kind of get you guys feedback on some of them. So one statistic says that suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst individuals between the ages of 10 and 34, which means that you guys are from the ages of 10 and 34, you're killing yourselves more than you're killing each other because it outranks even homicide. And that's something that is very alarming. Since 2007, suicide rates among young Americans has jumped nearly 60%. I definitely got some questions, but I want to read one more statistic. Then I want to kind of break this down with you guys. Lastly, suicide amongst children and young people aged 10 to 24 rose 57% from 2007 to 2018, according to a new report from the U.S. Center of Disease Control. So, with those statistics, I am very interested in knowing from each one of your unique perspectives, what do you feel is going on? What do you feel is driving the increase of suicide rates amongst people from the ages of 10 to 34? I know we don't have any 10-year-olds and we don't have any 34-year-olds, but you guys, fit within that age bracket. And for those who are older, you may be able to think back to when you were 10 or 12 and what were some of the things that you may have despaired of at that age. And because this is a statistic that goes back to 2007, some of you guys may have been 12, 10 at that age as well. So I'm gonna start with you, Jemala. What do you think is driving the increase of suicide rates from the ages of 10 to 34-year-olds?
I believe there's a disconnect within our age range. I believe, personally, my experience, you can't.
You breaking up a little bit. Just a little bit. It's a little delay.
Oh Lord, is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, I had to sit in the kitchen because them kids in the front, they don't want to go outside today. I think when I dealt with my depression, I wasn't comfortable enough going to my family like, okay, look, this is what it is. This is what I'm experiencing. I need help. Because in some family, not all, it's just the laugh factor. Oh, she depressed. She thinks she mentally unstable. She think this, she think that. That ain't nothing but the devil. And it is, you know what I'm saying? But don't just discount it as ain't nothing really wrong with her, And I feel as if in our age range, especially kids, it's no one to talk to. They have parents and we can be very vocal. If it's ever anything you need, anything you want to tell me, you can come talk to me. But in that sense, I don't think kids like, my mama don't want to hear, I'm finna kill myself, And so that's why they don't talk about it. I'm very open in my household. I'm very open with my kids, but it's tough. It really is. And so I think it's just, we feel as if no one will understand. And so the easier way out is just to not talk to anybody else and just go ahead and do it.
Very powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Jerves, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. It's no one, I would say, coming from the teacher perspective, there is no one for a lot of our students to talk to. And it's a lot going on at home, and the parents, depending on what type of family home you come from. So, for example, I had a student who, he came from a single parent home. He couldn't tell his mother that his mother was already had enough weight on her back trying to make ends meet. And so it's signs even earlier than 10 showing that they're getting to that level where they want to commit suicide. And it's from my personal, like my brother, his thing was when he was at the age between 8 and 9, he kept distancing himself from not just the family, but from friends, locking himself in a room and things like that. And I mean, it's like little milestones you see. And I feel like we need to start younger, not talking about suicide, but at least working with the mental health part. And we need to know as a Black community, like you said, it is the devil, but don't just write it off. We need to talk about it. We need to be open.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Jerves. Very, very true. I agree. Keiarra, what are your thoughts on that? Being the youngest on the panel.
Oh, I agree with both Jerves and Jemala. I'm so sorry if I've mispronounced your name. I feel like coming from my perspective of being the youngest and being in this generation, we feel like we don't have no one to confide in. We feel like when we confide in people, people just don't listen to us, or they tell us we're being dramatic, or we don't know what we're talking about. And I feel like if I'm old enough to do this and that, I'm old enough to articulate my feelings and say how I feel. And coming from someone who's personally felt that way, not so much as like, yeah, like I want to kill myself. It's like, I'm sad, but I'm not sad. I just don't want to be bothered with no one. I don't want to feel like I'm bothering people by being myself. Coming from someone who's felt that way, I literally used to just separate myself from all my friends. I used to not talk to people and all that stuff. And the only person I really used to talk to was like my best friend, and she doesn't stay in Chicago. So I feel like it's something that just like people need to tell us, like reassurance that they're listening, because there's a difference between hearing me and listening to what I'm saying and actually caring. So yeah.
Ooh, Keiarra, you just said a mouthful, mama. Listen, we could probably wrap it up right there. I don't even know where to begin to pick that apart, because what you said is exactly why we're here, to create a platform for you to say what's on your mind and have someone to hear you, and you can be safe, create a platform where you're safe to express your thoughts and your feelings. I do believe that we live in a world where we tell y'all to be quiet. The youth, we tell them to be quiet, and we don't usually hand you a mic until you 20, 21 and got a job and have proven some stuff. But I think with the amount of things that you guys are encountering, just coming into high school and getting out of high school, you have a lot to say and you have a lot to contend with. And we need to create a world where we have more listeners. I agree. Thank you for sharing that, Keiarra. Antonios, what are your thoughts? What do you think is driving this increase of suicides from the ages of 10 to 34?
To be honest, like I feel like, some people in society, they take mental health lightly. Like they don't take that serious. And some people be wondering why people be doing these bad things in the whole world and stuff. And I feel like it all starts with the mental. Like, and I feel like what drives them is it could be like anything, like issues with going on with themselves. People going through family problems, like it could be like family members that's affecting them, mistreating them, or it could be people like bullying them at school. It could be anything that's driving them. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it. Everybody said other stuff, I agree with all of y'all.
And I think the details of what you just laid out kind of hits it on the head, especially for the youth. Certain circumstances, such as family situations, and not having someone who you trust in your family that you feel cares for you and is there to protect you and is concerned about your health and your mental well-being more so than, hey, you gotta clothes on your back, a roof on your head, and some food to eat. So shut up. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, I feel so bad now. Even just having said that and realizing that some people, some parents really have that upbringing. I gave you food, clothes, and a roof over your head. And that's really the sum of all I have to offer you as a parent until it's time for you to graduate and I gotta come up to the school for something. And so we don't really do well with discussing the portion of the bullying. And I know there was a period where bullying seemed to be a bit of a campaign within the schools, but it also seemed like we've died down and the bullying has transitioned to online bullying and social media bullying. And that's another thing I want to talk to you guys about because, and matter of fact, let's transition right there because I'm noticing a very distinct trend with these numbers. It says around 2007 to 2018 is when there was these huge jumps from of about 60% in young Americans who attempted suicide and or completed suicide. That seems to be, to me, to be eerily correlated to when social media began to explode and become such a norm for our culture that, you know, it's almost impossible to see ourselves without it now. What do you guys think in regards to how social media could be contributing to the suicide rates for the youth, and what factors and portions of social media could be having playing a part in their overall mental health? I'll go back up to Jemala.
Mhm. Don't correct yourself. It's not a problem. I want to piggyback on bullying. Bullying is a trigger for me. I don't like bullying. I remember at one point I had to learn how to parent while being a parent. And I had, my son was at least 10 at the time, but I had to learn how to approach it. My son was assaulted in school by a group of his peers. He was held down in the shower room. They stripped him out of all of his clothes. They recorded it and sent it to the entire school. And I remember my son being at his lowest at 10 years old. I mean, how do you be a parent while seeing so much rage and being supportive of his needs and him not wanting to be alive? This is my 10-year-old. This is my flesh and blood. And it was war for me. The school had knew about it for 2 weeks before I found out about it. I was sitting in the parent conference, and over the walkie-talkie, she said, the clerk in the office said, I have a parent here in regards to a video of Rodney Mosley being naked. This is what was broadcasted over the walkie-talkie for the entire staff to hear. And in my mind, oh, all I saw was red. Y'all could call 911 now, but it ain't gonna be because whoever did it, they're gonna have to come and get me. Because all I saw was red. My son battled depression for so long, for like years at a time, and just wanted to be dead. Bullying triggers me. Like, I don't care if you're bullying a kid, if you're bullying an adult, whatever type of bullying is, verbal, mental, over social media. I am a strong advocate for bullying on social media. That's just like I was reading an article maybe 2 weeks ago, the little boy that went to a CPS grammar school that attempted to kill himself, hung himself in his closet. His mom found him, rushed him to the hospital. He had not been breathing for maybe like 10, 15 minutes. They was able to bring him back, but because his brain had lost so much oxygen, it was nothing else they could do for him. He lived on a vent. He just recently died. He just recently died. His mom has a lawsuit out against CPS today. for the bullying. It was recorded that one of the dean of students had dragged the little boy out of the school, and Winter told him he had to go because they couldn't deal with his outbursts about being bullied. I just feel like if as adults, if we listen, whether it be our child, somebody else's teenager, and those interventions are put into place, you could possibly save a life. And social media plays the biggest part. This exposed culture that they have on social media, I'm not here for it at all. A little girl DM you a picture of her underwear and you expose her. Now she being bullied. And it's something that's gonna follow her for the rest of her life. And you never know how to make these kids feel. As a parent, I feel as if my kids are not old enough for social media. They barely got a TikTok, okay? Because it's just bullying everywhere and it doesn't matter. You could post a picture and didn't know you had a boogie in your nose, and now everybody, he posting pictures because he had a boogie in his nose, then you know he dirty, he this, he that. Sometimes the circumstances that surround what these children are going through, adults too, people don't take into consideration, and I think they should. Because you never know the situation at home, and then they try to find a safe space at school with their so-called friends or whatever it may be, and then even in that setting they're being bullied. And my son was never comfortable enough to come and say, Mom, this is what's going on. He never said anything, and it hurt me to my core because I probably didn't even make it safe for him to even come and say, Mom, this is what's going on. You know what I'm saying? He probably was at home acting out, and I'm just like, oh, if you don't stop, this gonna happen. I'm taking cell phones, I'm taking TVs, I'm doing everything, and then deep down, he's dealing with being bullied at school, and I never knew. And so it's really a struggle. It's really a struggle, but social media definitely plays 100% of a factor in suicide and bullying and kids feeling like they just can't be themselves.
Thank you for sharing that, Jemala. That was really, really powerful. Wow. Yeah, I got so many questions, but I want to hear from Jerves. How do you, especially as a teacher, now I used to teach high school, for freshmen all the way up to seniors. I ain't been in the schools in 5, 6, 7 years. I remember when I went back into the schools, how jarring it was, because so much had changed from the time I was a student. I mean, it was so much going on with, I just, you can see that there was a lot of identity questions, people just trying a lot of different things. So I know I want to hear from your perspective as a teacher, also as a mother, but also as a youth. What do you think in regards to social media being a contributing factor to the suicide rate?
Well, one, I agree with Jemala. Is that was the main reason I got out the business, because places like CPS and these larger school districts, the children, yes, it's some teachers, I'm not gonna say all, it's some teachers where the kids, they are important and they want to know what's going on. They're gonna dig in and figure out what's going on with social media. But you got a bunch of teachers and a bunch of educators who sometimes are not connected with the kids and they don't know what's going on. And it don't matter from high school to, I even taught transition plus 21-year-olds to all the way down to preschool to 6th grade. Like, it's some teachers who don't have connection with their students and with their families, and to them, it's not about me. So I'm just here for a paycheck. And I'm not saying all teachers are like that, but it's a group of teachers, and that's what gives the education a bad name. And then as a parent, I mean, I agree. I have my son, my oldest son, he'll be 10 in 2 weeks. He's autistic, but academically, he's on a regular grade level. But socially, it's his issue. So he's bullied all the time. People throwing stuff at him, people taking his stuff. It got to the point where, like Jemala said, I took the technology away because people were stealing his phones and he having these outbursts and yelling and screaming and throwing chairs, and they claim, oh, it's him. But you didn't figure out the real story. You didn't go investigate. You didn't go put these practices in place, you didn't try to get to know. And so, I mean, it's just so big and so deep. And then as a person of youth myself, I admit I was more, I will admit, I'm a student of CPS and I had a learning disability. So I was in special ed all the time, from 3rd grade all the way into 8th grade. I was considered labeled the bad kid. And because people labeled me that, I did what I had to do. I'm gonna be ignorant, I'm gonna throw chairs, I'm gonna do whatever. So you can't see my insecurities. So you can't see that I'm depressed. So you can't see that I know academically I'm not on grade level and everybody else is, and you're not gonna help me. So I mean, it's just so much. And social media now takes these issues and they blow them up. And people think it's funny. And like you said, it's not just children, it's adults. I have girlfriends who will send a picture to a man, and then next thing you know, you see it on Facebook and it's posted everywhere, or on their Instagram, or like, and they didn't give you permission to do that. Or they sending it to other groups of people. And it's sad what our society has become, because it's like, it's the American thing to do, is to be mean to people, to bully, to belittle people. And that's something we need to change.
Thank you. Yes, I agree, Jerves. Keiarra, can I see your face, Mom? I want to see that beautiful smile. I saw it earlier. There you go. So what are your thoughts on how social media could be impacting mental health for the youth, as well as could be possibly impacting suicide?
I feel like personally, kids in this generation have too much access to social media. Like, kids be 7 or 6 years old, 10 years old, and have an Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, and all that. I didn't get my first Instagram till I was like in 5th or 6th grade. And even with all the social media that I have, my older sister follows me on social media just to make sure I'm not doing anything I'm not supposed to do. Even though I know if I was to do something I'm not supposed to do, I'm going to get in trouble. But she follows me regardless. So I feel like it's like the parents play a part in it, because they feel like social media is just something like for kids to express themselves. Granted, it is that, but it's so much more than that, because there's trolls on social media, there's predators on social media. And if you're not being aware of what your kid is doing or posting, and your kid has all this access to the outside world through social media, you never know what's going on. And as far as bullying is just a whole nother way just to trigger someone. Coming from someone who was bullied in elementary school, bullying is just another way for you to make somebody feel bad about themselves because you are not pleased with yourself. So that's all I have to say.
Keiarra, baby, we about to get you your own show in a minute. We about to get this girl her own show. Listen,
that was a whole word.
That's a whole word, girl. Listen, girl, preach. Go ahead, Antonio. We want to hear from you.
Man, I'll say, like, social media, I feel like that's one of the major reasons why, like, the youth right now in this generation of society, like, that's why, like, their mental health is bad, because, like, other parts where, like, for example, like relationships, they look up to, like, these social media couples, like YouTubers, all that and stuff, and they impact their minds and made it seem like, oh, that's how there's a relationship supposed to be. That's how the boyfriend's supposed to be. That's how the girlfriend's supposed to be. Oh my God, but they don't know what goes on behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's so crazy that how, you know, they think this is how a relationship's supposed to be. I'm like, no, that's not how it is. I know this YouTube couple named DR and Ken. And when there was a video surfaced around of Ken cheating on DR, he was hugged up with another woman and stuff. And now all these girls were saying, like, man, this is why I can't trust these boys, all that, everyone. I'm like, y'all can like stand in the world. See, everybody, social media would be like putting out like a false reality. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it makes people trying to rush life, trying to rush into things that they're not even ready for. And it makes them thinking like, oh, this is how my life's supposed to be. I'm like, nah, live your own life. You know what I'm saying? This is y'all got your own purpose. Don't stop trying to live like other people. They ain't posting their struggles. They only doing this for money. This is a fake society that we in. Everything in this world is temporary and nothing in here lasts forever. And it's like, that's why people, like, for instance, like girls, they look at like model pictures and they thinking like, oh, I'm trying to get my body like that. Nah, be yourself. You know what I'm saying? Be natural. Like, stop trying to look up to these models. They ain't posting, they dealing with the same stuff you're dealing with. That's why they trying to put themselves out there to make themselves look good for the men that they trying to get at. I'm not saying all, but some. Yeah, no, that's kind of
No, you speaking a word, bro, like legitimately. Because I think the body image issues that social media has magnified is slowly killing our women. Woo! Lord, 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 Lord. Oh, my women, they out here getting all types of surgeries. No one wanna keep their nose and face and bodies, and nobody liking what God gave. Well, at the very least, want to go work on it and get it honestly. And I think I don't want to tarnish anyone's name, but we living in a Kardashian culture where everybody trying to Cardi B their booty or whatever, and I don't understand how we got here, and I don't understand how we're gonna get out, because there's such a wildfire where if one person does it, then it's the new trend now. Everybody getting these surgeries. It's hard. Yeah, you said a lot, Antonio's, and I think for those who can't afford to get the surgery, that could be jarring, because now you got to live with the body that you have or somebody else have it. And then just the fact that you want to get it could be indicative that there's a mental issue going on, that you can't see yourself enough to say, I like me, or I like me enough to put the work in to get the body that I want. Yeah, I may not be sitting on Kim level ass, and I'm gonna say ass, but some squats are, hey, or give me a trainer and do it naturally. It's so many women are permanently damaging their bodies with these surgeries, and it's so jarring. So Antonio, yeah, you hit it on the head. I'm gonna bounce back up to Keiarra for a moment, and then matter of fact, I'm putting in a new order because she the youngest, and then Antonio's. Jerves, are you younger than Jemala?
I'm 31 too.
Oh, so we'll leave y'all in that order. Okay, cool. I want to hear from these young bucks, and then I want, as the older people on the panel, I really want you to hear how they're processing, and then, with that information, then give feedback, because I also want you to respond to them as the youth, because even though you guys are in the same category, and the category is pretty large, 10 to 34-year-olds, I still think there's some mentorship, especially be it that your parents and teachers and educators, that you can provide even to these two who are in high school and just out of high school. So we're going to switch it up to Keiarra. I'm going to have her go then Antonio. So here's the question. Wow, y'all said a lot. So in Illinois, from 2007 to 2018, suicide rates increased for adolescents and young adults by 41%. What is going on in Illinois, particularly Chicago, What's going on? What's happening in the Chi that you think is driving suicide rates among the youth? Keiarra?
I think it's the fact that kids my age are having kids. I think that's one of the things. Like, I go to high school. I'm in high school, obviously. So I would see people in my grade who's pregnant from other schools or at my school, and I'm just you're still technically a baby, and now you're finna have a baby, and you're like, that's probably gonna continue down the line. Not shaming people who do that, because if you feel like you can do that, that shout out to you. But I just feel like you should I feel like you have to put yourself first before you can think about having a kid. Like, you have to prioritize yourself. Think about, if I can go to college, if I can supply for my child and stuff like that. I feel like it's a lot of gun violence too. Like, kids are like, a lot of parents don't want their kids to go outside because they don't know if their kid gonna come back home safely. And when you cooped up in the house all the time, that can make you depressed, because it's like, wow, I really have no human interaction with no one. And I'm stuck in the house by myself. Like, I can't see nobody. I can't go outside with my friends because my mama don't know if I'm gonna come back home. And I feel like that makes people depressed. And they be like, like, if I can't go outside and if I can't do this and this or that, I might as well not be here.
Awesome. That's a very good point. Antonio, what are your thoughts? What do you think is going on in Illinois, particularly in Chicago, that could be possibly influencing this increase of suicides amongst young adults?
I feel like some people
And you can even
it
make
could
it
be
personal. I don't mean to cut you off. You can even make it personal, because I know you and I have talked about just some of your personal issues, just living in Chicago and your concerns and so forth. So either or, however you want to approach it, it don't have to be such a general perspective. It could be just your own personal experience.
all right. um I feel like with some people, well, okay, people who have father issues, that's one of the main reasons. And also, like, people trying to search for that love, and they feel like nobody love them, and they try so hard to, like, you know find someone to get in a relationship with, take things fast, and also I'll say what Keiarra said, gun violence. It can be the environment they in too, you know. And people, um I would say, like, also, it's the people, it's the environment. It's like hanging out with the wrong crowd that's affecting their mental health. I'll say, the negative stuff they seeing on social media. um I wouldn't say TikTok sometimes TikTok, but yeah, everything, what I said is basically sums it up, what kids be dealing with, especially in the Black community too, because people in the Black community, we all need to talk about mental health, and I feel like we take that like lightly. We don't even take that serious at all. So I feel like some people don't want to talk about it. People just people feel like they're gonna get shamed for it. They're gonna get talked about for dealing with this stuff. And there's people who makes fun of other people for having emotions. And there's nothing wrong with having emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you for sharing, Antonio. In regards to Chicago and Illinois, Jemala, what do you think may be increasing the suicide rates amongst the youth?
I don't think it's enough mental health awareness. You know, again, to double back, it's nobody to confide in. Being from Chicago is tough within itself. There's this status quo that, oh, you from Chicago, you should be a drill rapper. You should be out here just living, doing all of this stuff that the perceptions that people have of being from Chicago. And that's not the case. I think people put Chicago on a pedestal, like it's just where you should be from. Look, I'm Chicago for life, born and raised, but I really know that this is not a place to raise my children. I know this is a place where, yeah, I'm from here. The food got me spoiled. I'm gonna never find nowhere else like Chicago, but Chicago is Chicago. And then you know, I feel as if a lot of children who are committing suicide, especially within the teenager range of males, I feel like maybe they're killing themselves just to escape having to be gang related or having to do something that they don't want to do, the peer pressure of being a gangbanger or a drug dealer. And it's just like, if I don't do what so and so telling me to do, then he gonna kill me. So I might as well just do it myself. You never know, because I definitely know growing up in Inglewood, that's what it was like. Either you're gonna sell these drugs or you're gonna have to figure something else out, because this is what the plan that has already been laid out for your life is. We've been watching you since you was a kid, so we knew you was gonna be working on a corner when you got old enough to work that corner. And maybe they escaping the fact of, I don't want to be a drug dealer. This is not the path I want to choose for my life. And somebody else is basically making that choice for me. And then again, social media plays another part in everything else. You want to get caught up in Lil Durk and O Block them beef. You want to be caught up in the beef that they got going on with Lamron and everybody else, and you on Instagram like, yeah, because I heard they shot Lil Sane over there and he was lacking and didn't even see him coming. And now somebody else didn't see you. Now they threatening you online. And what you gonna do? Now I gotta do something. So I just think Chicago plays a part.
Awesome.
And not being aware of really taking mental health serious.
Awesome. Gervais?
No, all summed it up. I ain't got nothing else to say. But I totally agree with Jemala. I mean, they are basically in our community. Your life has been planned for you. You're either gonna sell drugs, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do whatever. I mean, it's not even a selling drugs, it's girls who are out there prostituting. I mean, like, you don't have a choice to do. I mean, this city, I mean, I love it. It's home. I've been here since I can remember. But it's so much going on, and we need help. We need people to step in. Not just, yes, the church is helping us and we coming together, but it's some other things we need. We need funding. We need people to get out there. I mean, it's things that our community don't know, and they don't know to know because ain't nobody taught us. And if you go somewhere else, and I'm not gonna say that because, like I said, I've been to Minnesota too, and it's similar, just like Chicago, especially in the minority areas. And it's just like here in Chicago, it's magnified to 100 though, and it's more of us. So then it's more you feeling upset. You want to kill yourself. You don't have nobody to talk to. You don't have a teacher to talk to. You have your family, but sometimes your family, like I said, they're going through stuff too. And I mean, you can see that sometimes mental health isn't just the child. Sometimes it's parents who got mental health issues and they're raising children, and you just don't know what to do. And I mean, it's been times where like I said, being somebody who was labeled with a disability, having a son with a disability, it's times where I'm in my mental issue state and I don't know what to do, and I have to figure it out. So like, can you imagine how many more people out there feel that way, and we just not admitted that?
Great point. Great point. Yeah, y'all are definitely spitting that knowledge. I know this topic has been kind of touched on or whatever, so I'm gonna kind of open it up and just leave it open for you guys to just answer as you see fit. So amongst black youth, we brought up the issue of being Black in America. So among Black youth, suicidal attempts increased by 73% from 1991 to 2017, and it decreased amongst white youth. Systemic problems such as racism, poverty, and police-involved shootings that have involved Black victims may be driving these numbers, especially among young Black Americans. Be it that we just went through some very interesting times with the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so forth. How do you think that these particular significant events that we all just watched and watched and experienced, how has those events affected your mental health as a Black American, as a Black young person? How do you feel mentally as a result of seeing, the racism, the police shootings, the poverty, and so forth? And anyone could jump in and answer that.
I'll go first. Well, it hit home because I was there when it happened. I was there with the riots. I will admit right now, I'm going through a divorce. I was married to, this is my second marriage. I was married to somebody white, Caucasian. The minute it happened, part of me knew, I will admit, part of me was a little bit depressed before the George Floyd and before COVID, because as a Black woman with a Black son, and then I have a biracial daughter and now pregnant with another biracial son, you and your family and the community around us was not supportive, didn't call to ask how we felt. And when you did call, you made it seem like it was George Floyd's fault, and it wasn't. I don't care what he did. It don't give you the right to put your knee on somebody's neck. And so it started making me feel like I needed to change who I was, and I had to be somebody different. And then as I'm trying to change myself to fit into this white culture, I'm starting to see it's trickling down to my kid. My son is getting irate to the point where when you say one little disrespectful thing to me or call me nappy headed or talk about my hair, he flips out and say, "You don't talk about my mama like that." And then you got my daughter who is just like, "My mommy is Black and beautiful and I'm Black and beautiful. I don't understand this." And so it was a lot of depression going on in our house the last part of 2020, to the point where that's what made me get up and move. Because I'm not gonna have my child surrounded by this. It's enough going on in this world with people being racist, but feeling that in their own home is not okay. And so when my son started to say, well, maybe I shouldn't be living, because if that's gonna happen to George Floyd, I can imagine what's gonna happen to me. And in Minnesota, that wasn't the first incident. It was 2 other people who they killed, and they just like swiped it under the rug. And if you can do that, or this isn't the place for me. I need to come back where my people are, where my kids are gonna, yes, I will admit there's issues here in Chicago too. But at least I know I got my family and my support to support. And as a community, we need to support each other, because we already got enough people trying to knock us down.
Awesome. That's preach, girl. I wanted to say so much, but I wanted to give somebody else a chance. Okay, so again, here's the question again. How do you feel that racism, the shootings, and the poverty that we've seen in the Black community over the past year or so, how is that affecting the youth, the mental health of our community, but particularly of the youth? Anybody else have an answer they want to toss at that? Go ahead, Keiarra.
Oh, I do. So personally, I just wrote an essay about this for school too. So I just gotta say this quote. I said in my essay, "We are living in a society where Black is not beautiful, but in reality, it's the best thing in the world." Meaning, we live in a society where technically Black people aren't the societal standard. We're not beautiful, we're thugs and all this other stuff. Yet every trend that's going around is a trend that we started. From the baggy clothes that made us thugs to the acrylic nails and the wigs that made us ghetto to the hoops that made us ghetto. Every trend that's so-called surfacing back around has always been here. It's just been in the Black community, and now everyone's getting a hold of it and trying to claim it as theirs. So I feel like with all the protests and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd that's happened in the past year, it's like getting out to people in different races. Like, yes, racism is a thing. Discrimination is a thing. It's a thing that Black people have to deal with every day. So because you have white privilege, use your privilege and go sign petitions, go protest. Use your privilege and use your voice to tell people that we're not thugs, that every trend you think is cool is our culture. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
We about to vote this girl for president. I mean, she about to be somebody's senator or something. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna throw it out there one more time, see if anybody else want to tackle that question before we move on to the next question. The question is again, how has this past year of violence, police violence, racism, protests, and so forth, how has it affected the mental health either of yourself or the community around you? Anybody else? Go ahead, Antonio.
I say like it made the mental health like it made personally me like the violence from this past year, like it made me fear my life because every day I walk outside, you know, I get paranoid, especially like during 2020 when the riots and stuff happened, the looting, all that, especially the gun violence and stuff too. You know, I was paranoid about my life. I be thinking like something gonna happen to me like every day and stuff, and it made me like, you know, want to like live my life to the fullest, do my best every single day, and you know, just to be careful out here because people is crazy, and um, you know, it's just so it made me emotional too, like to really walk outside and just be like, dang, I don't really feel safe outside, even though I be trying to like go outside and take a walk and stuff. Every time I walk outside, I have to just think about like, watch your surroundings, and just, you know, it's just sad. And then the news be reporting all that stuff, like, oh, a 14-year-old got shot in the leg, or a 15-year-old African American man boy got arrested by police for no reason for just, you know, sitting down. Anything, you know, just stuff like that makes me just scared, you know. And I feel like we target in this society. So I feel like, you know, makes me thinking like, how can we grow from this? How can we, you know, get better from all of this? You know, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Dude, you got me choking up a little bit for real. Because as a Black man, I have those same fears, you know, and I it could seem like okay because I'm not young or whatever, I can be overlooked, but that feeling like the target is on my back, you know, all the time, and in public, you know, when you walk outside, just yeah, um, and to think that here I am older than you, but that you are, we could both relate on the same level because I have the same fear, you know, and I haven't found an answer to it. Uh, I remember, you know, when a couple times just driving in Chicago after Michael Brown was killed. and driving and a police pulling up behind me and just me feeling this sense of anxiety because the person who were paid or said to protect and serve is now a threat to me. And there's nothing to some degree that I can do about it. If he decides to pull me over, I think I had pulled over on the side of the road or something, whatever. And he pulled up, the police officer pulled up behind me, I guess to signal me to move on. But in that moment, I'm thinking, like, if he came over to the car and if it just escalated, and I did feel a sense of PTSD from the Michael Brown situation. That is post traumatic. It didn't happen to me, but how am I sitting here with the fear? I ain't know the boy, but I'm sitting here with a fear of something that happened to him. Absolutely PTSD. That here we are months in later, and I'm, oh my God, it can happen to me next. Oh my God. And so that speaks volumes to me, Antonio, because again, for me personally, I tend to think that, maybe I'm these feelings are isolated and exclusive to me, but to think that my mentee is somewhere having those same feelings, that that's jarring for me as a mentor, as a man, as a leader. That's jarring for me. So here's a question I want to ask for everyone, and you can be as honest, as transparent as you want. Have you ever struggled with your own mental health? And if so, can you tell us about it and how did you overcome it if you did? And anyone can jump out there.
I would say yes, I have. In my lifetime, I would say I had 3 incidents. One, when I first went off to college, my world was closing in. I wasn't that girl on the block anymore. I had to get up and move and go to another state for school. And it was terrifying because I had to start all over again and I didn't know. So I went through a point where I was cutting myself because I thought that was going to make the pain feel better. Then again, my first marriage, I met my husband at college, but he was here from Chicago. We moved up to Minnesota. He came out of the closet after I had my son. I went through a big devastation of that because I thought it was me. What did I do wrong to make him decide he was going to go the other way? Was I not a good wife? Was I not supportive? Was our child not important enough? To the point where I ended up going to therapy. I took anxiety medicine all the time because I was paranoid that this is going to happen again, the next relationship I get in. Fast forwarding to now, with the whole George Floyd thing and marrying somebody of a different race and how that just causes a lot of mental stress on you because you're trying to fit into this quote unquote world. I realized that while we were in COVID, that, like I said, I didn't realize until we got into COVID that I was depressed way before COVID even started. But COVID just made me realize this was an issue and I couldn't run away from it anymore. I couldn't go to the gym or I couldn't add on all these work hours or me and the kids go take these many trips. So I didn't have to deal with the issue. And then eventually I got therapy and then I realized God, my Holy Spirit told me, you need to leave. This is not a safe place anymore. And so, I mean, therapy, talking to other people, sometimes medication if you need it, prayer. I mean, sometimes even, I know this is silly, but even now I realize even just writing, just getting the thoughts off my brain, that helps. I mean, it's so much you can do.
Thank you for sharing, Jerves. Anybody else struggle with their mental health if they want to kind of share it with us?
Can I go?
Go ahead, Keiarra.
So last year, like not last year, but like when the pandemic had started and we got out of school, when I was in school, I was like a real people's person. Like I would talk to everybody, I was touching everybody, everybody knew me somehow. And it's just like I like during the pandemic, I didn't really have nobody to talk to. I started falling out, like falling off with people. And that really affected me mentally because I would be like, dang, like I don't even know what I like to do no more. Cause I was such like a people pleaser. It's like I don't even know what I like to do. I don't even know what brings me joy as a person. All I know is I like to sing and dance, and that's it. So it's just like during the pandemic, like during quarantine, I'm just like, wow, like I'm really out here staying up every day watching movies just to feel some type of excitement and stuff like that. And that continued all the way up to like December. It really wasn't until after my 17th birthday, which was this year, that I actually felt one with myself. And I felt completely satisfied with who I am as a person. And the way I got to that point was like, one, I had really supporting friends, like Antonio's, for example. He was like one of the main people, always there for me if I needed to vent, if I needed to rant. I had my sister, I had God, and it's just like I would just start doing things a day that would make me happy, not make anybody else happy, as far as writing songs, singing, watching Glee, because that's my comfort show and stuff like that. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. We had to Antonio's had to bow out for a little bit. I'm gonna let you guys go in the next maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you for sharing, Keiarra. Um, Anybody else want to share about their mental health?
I would probably say after I just had my last son, I went through really bad anxiety and postpartum depression. I think it was just being pregnant in COVID, having a baby while COVID positive, having to deliver my baby with no support system around. Like it was just really tough on me. And the fact that I was starting over my son before I had Eli, he was about to be 3. And it's just like not really starting over, but it's all new again, a sleepless night, trying to nurse and produce enough milk while being stressed, but also trying to be a parent while dealing with mental health was tough. Because, like, how do I give my best when I'm not at my best? And so it was rough, and I was on antidepressants and anxiety medication. And as time went on, it got better.
Thank you for sharing, Jemala. Yeah, and that's a great segue because I want to move into as we close this particular conversation. I think we're gonna have to do a round two because I still got some more to talk to y'all about. We ain't even touch the tip of the iceberg. I know they've been like the men and the women panel, they've been asking for another round. So we may do a whole another round. And I may invite you guys back because I really don't feel like we completely milk this topic, especially based on the level of importance that it is in our community, with it being the second highest cause of death for people 10 to 34. There's Yeah, we got to keep the conversation going because there's only I don't know what the number one cause is, but I think it may be drunk driving or accidents or something like that. But for this to outrank homicide for the youth, I'm emotional right now. I'm sorry. I'm really trying to hold it back. Um, it's really concerning. Yeah. So I did not expect to get emotional. But so I want to kind of segue into, just kind of what you were saying, Jemala, just about, possible treatment options in terms of therapy, taking antidepressants. Personally, when I went through my mental health issue, I did. I am in therapy right now. I don't go very frequently because I've gotten better. But I did start therapy, just meeting with somebody who could assess me objectively, won't look at me and say, "Hey, ain't nothing wrong with you. You got everything good. You in LA, you doing well. Because some people will, and I have been shrugged off as, but Earl, you got everything going well for yourself. How is it, that you could be having any issues or whatever? And so I began to see a therapist. I did begin to take antidepressants. Um, and I began to do some self care in regards to learning to meditate, learning to really take responsibility and control of my depression and anxiety as opposed to letting it run me. I'll be honest, it wasn't easy to learn, but it was definitely something that um, a technique that I now value and utilize regularly, just quieting my inside, quieting my thoughts, my feelings, and emotions enough to allow them to be without judgment, but also not allow them to overwhelm me. So, one thing I want to stress as we close is that getting help is incredibly important. It's important because there is help out there and your life matters, and and each person, regardless of the circumstances and the environments that you're in, your life matters. And it's important that you know that some situations are temporal and they aren't forever. And if you despair of a moment thinking that this moment and this feeling is gonna last forever and take your life off of a moment, you could be giving up on the opportunity and the chance where something better could come along, that things could work out. So I encourage you not to give up your life easily and frivolously, and to again understand that there is help out there. One way that you can get help is to, well, see a family doctor, see a psychologist, see a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist. There are volunteer organizations and community health centers that provide resources at little to no cost. I know a lot of people, as far as healthcare and mental health is concerned, they always mark the cost as an issue. There are places that do a pro bono. There are places that offer discounts. You may have to do some research and may have to call a couple places, but you are worth it. Your mental health is worth it. If you're not functioning well up here, it's hard to see how you'll be able to function well in any aspect of your life. So it's important that we make sure that we're doing our due diligence, we're taking care of our minds. Um, but also understanding that you could go to a local hospital or even a social agency, and they can also provide some immediate resources. There are also depression treatments such as psychotherapy, antidepressants, or even a combination of different wholesome and less medicine oriented treatments that you can look into on YouTube. I find my meditation videos on YouTube all the time, and I meditated before I got on the call, you know what I'm saying, just to make sure I was in a good mental space to have such a heavy conversation. I encourage you to make meditation a regular part of your life. It's not that ooey gooey, ooh, it don't have to be that deep. It's really just about learning to silence the voices inside that drive you to be anxious, that drive you to be depressed, to control those feelings and not to allow them to control you. That doesn't mean that they're not gonna come. um I would tell you, right after I came out of my period of depression, I was good for a minute, then went through a little bit of a breakup, and it potentially sent me back like, oh, I remember this feeling. So it's not like it don't come back. It's a practice that you have to keep uh, uh developing that muscle to control. I would tell you that that breakup, the pain and the discomfort of it did not last as long as it could have if I did not have those techniques under my belt. So I'm a sign off and with this to say that for everybody on the call or on the Zoom call, I'm here if you need someone to talk to. I encourage you to reach out if you are dealing with some issues, if you need just an objective ear. I'm a cool dude, cool guy, or whatever. But I definitely don't want anyone on this call um, to feel like they're alone and to be struggling with anything by yourself, because you don't have to be. Isolation and loneliness are one of the key and driving forces that lead to suicide. That feeling like I don't have nobody that care, that feeling like I'm by myself, that isolation in this big world, that feeling can drive you to want to leave here. So I let me be the first to say, and I know you have your families and your immediate circles that, but I'm here for you ladies as well as any gentlemen, Antonios, and so forth. This has definitely been a conversation, but I want to thank you for taking the time to be a part of it. I know that talking about these things aren't the easiest thing to do, but I think you all did an amazing job. I'm impressed just by each of your abilities to articulate your thoughts and understand and grasp the subject. And I encourage you guys to just stay strong, stay leaders within your community. Even feel free to reach out to one another. Here's what I want you to do. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wrap it up before I give some other instructions. So we're gonna wrap up this episode of Federo Speaks. You guys, I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope that someone got something that out of what was shared. This panelists, they were amazing. And I encourage you that if you're struggling with your mental health, call the number, the suicide hotline. If there's any immediate dangers, again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. That is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And yeah, they'll be willing and more than able to assist. With that said, I'm signing off. I love you all. Thank you and goodbye. So with that, that was for the taper. So for you guys, here's what I want to say. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna email you guys. Keiarra, let me make sure I got your email. Keiarra, what I'm gonna email to you is the video release form, just so we can say that I was able to record you and we'll be putting it on YouTube and on the website. I'm so full right now. So I'm going to email you that, but I'm also going to email everyone a thank you email. In that email, I'm asking that you use, if you want, provide your social media handle for anybody that may want to reach out to you, or an email in case they say, hey, I like her, I want to talk to her more, or whatever. And hold on. I'm glad I'm done recording. And the second thing that I'm going to ask for is your Cash App. If you have a Cash App, the Cash App is for me to send a special thank you to each one of you ladies for participating, but also to provide it for anyone. I'm going to put it on the video. So if anyone like what you said, like, yo, she was dope, I want to send her a little love token, they'll be able to do that or whatever. But other than that, you guys were amazing. You guys have any questions for me? You ladies have any questions for me?
Is there going to be a part 2 of this conversation?
Are you ladies interested in being part of part 2?
I am.
Yes.
Then there'll be part 2. I'll make sure we do part 2 because we definitely got some more to talk about. So thank you for expressing your interest. I'll definitely be in touch with the part 2. And if you're interested in any other panel discussions, so we're going to be doing other topics as well throughout the year, feel free to let me know, and I'll reach out with that information as well. Other than that, I appreciate you. Go enjoy your Sunday. Thank you so much. You ladies were beautiful and amazing. And I hope your week is prosperous. If you don't mind, can I just say a quick prayer for you? Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for each person that's represented here. I thank you for their household that they represent. I thank you for the individuality and uniqueness of each person. You have made them and you made them well. You made them well and you said it was good. And I thank you, Father, because I know that you are shining your love down upon each individual here present. I ask that you touch each family that's represented, touch the needs of the household. Father, be a provider for these young ladies, be a provider for their families. Let there be no lack. Be the God of abundance in their lives, in the areas of not just monetary, but in the areas of things that you cannot put a value to. Let there be an abundance of peace, an abundance of love, an abundance of joy, an abundance of happiness, an abundance of prosperity, an abundance of favor. You can't put a price tag on just favor. I like you just because I like you. Lord, let somebody like them just because they like them. Despite their skin color, despite their age, despite their nationality, you are the God that can provide favor when there's desolation, fruit when there's a drought. We are trusting you. We are trusting you to be the God of our lives. We thank you in advance for hearing this prayer. We thank you in advance for each representative of your kingdom. I ask that you fortify them, build them, continue to grow them into the women and young men that you will have them to be. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, you ladies, enjoy your day. Thank you.
Welcome
Thanks
to
for
you,
having
everybody.
me.
All right, you're welcome.